And we're starting here in the Middle East. Is Benny Gantz heading to Jordan for his first political visit since the establishment of Israel's unity government? The Arab newspaper Al Rai in London is reporting that the defense minister and alternate prime minister is heading to Oman to try to ease tensions over the country's annexation plans. Meanwhile, the Israeli government is ramping up efforts to try to win over support here at home. Gantz will meet with settlement leaders from the Yesha Council on Tuesday as part of another effort to soften their opposition to the annexation plan amidst fears that certain smaller settlements will be excluded from the deal. So for more on the story, our correspondent Alec Pollard is here in studio. So reports, Alec, that Benny Gantz is heading to Jordan. If this is in fact the case, talk us through the significance of this visit right now.
Well, Benny Gantz has said about the annexation, which was a bit of a stumbling block in those negotiations for the unity government between Gantz and Netanyahu, that it needs some form of international support in order to make the move. So that basically means to a certain extent that he was against the move, because there is not going to be international support for this form of annexation. But still, in that vein, he wants to go over to Amman to talk with King Abdallah to see what exactly understandings they can reach between each other. It is interesting that it's not Netanyahu who's going to meet with Abdallah or the foreign minister, Gabi Ashkenazi. It's the interim prime minister and defense minister, not interim, sorry, the alternate prime minister and defense minister, Benny Gantz, who's going, which is an unusual choice for this move. Perhaps Netanyahu, who has had some issues with, for instance, the security guard who shot 2 Jordanians at the embassy accidentally, and other things that have come up, that the general population in Jordan, who are very much against this annexation and who are very much been calling for a long time, many of them, for canceling the peace treaty with Israel. That's the population that Abdallah has to keep in mind when dealing with Israel, not to anger them. Perhaps for them, having Gantz rather than Netanyahu is a bit of a softer sort of something that they can swallow, and maybe that's the reason choosing to send Benny Gantz over there in order to have these negotiations with Abdallah.
It certainly will be an interesting first test, as a first trip, so to speak, with this new government. But Benny Gantz is also very briefly going to be meeting with settlement leaders tomorrow. Talk us through very quickly how he's going to woo people there.
So while there is opposition from the Arab world and from Palestinians to the annexation, there's also opposition from those settler groups who think that the annexation is not enough, that it's not a big enough move. There are going to be some settlements that are going to be left out of the deal, the fears of what a Palestinian state will mean. So they have their fears as well, and we're seeing this walk on a tightrope trying to keep everybody happy. It's not going to happen, of course, but still, that's the attempt that he's trying to do with these meetings.
Keeping everybody happy, we know, isn't easy anywhere in the world. Thank you so much, correspondent Alec Pollard. We appreciate that insight.